Students, now we will see fifth lecture of diversity, equity and inclusion. It is future of DEI. What would be the future of DEI? And you can say the DEI in future workplace. Whatever so far I have studied, that was the existing practice. But you will be studying something new. What is new? That what kind of DEI is required in future workplace. Now think, future workplace is much complicated to understand right now. What would be the structure of future workplace? Nobody can guess. Now, because few years back we were experienced hybrid work from home, different module of workplace. Nobody guessed earlier. Now it is the next picture, next phase DEI practice is concerned. What is the future? What way you can apply DEI in future workplace? Although present practice of DEI, it is in, what can I say, not much developed. It may not be developed, I am telling you. Because what kind of DEI we need basically, which one is fit for your employees, without understanding survey or some kind of complicated research, nobody can predict. Now see the agenda. What are the things to be discussed under this part? Challenges and remedies for promoting DEI, benefits of DEI in future workplace, burden of DEI in future workplace, and implementing DEI practices in the future workplace. These are all the 4 different agenda we will discuss today, this particular lecture. Students, challenges and remedies for promoting DEI. Lack of diversity at the top. Presently also we are seeing these particular things. If you do some kind of survey, you will be knowing how many organizations they are applying DEI practice, diversity officer, and how many practices at the top level people, top level, under representation of women and minorities in leadership roles and leading to a culture where DEI is not prioritized. And what is the remedies? Implement mentorship, sponsorship programs for underrepresented groups, self-diversity targets for leadership position, ensure unbiased succession planning to promote diverse talent. So these are all the things basically, what exactly challenge we are now facing. Then only we can guess what would be the DEI in future workplace. It is one of the more complicated issues that top level there is no existence of DEI practice. Now, unconscious bias is very important part. Unconsciously, sometimes we are indulging some kind of bias, which is more important part, which one of the challenges. It is happen every organization. Hidden bias affecting hiring, promotion and performance evaluation. There is unconscious bias. That means we have different mindset about male and female. We have different mindset about religion. We have different mindset about different age cluster, which is unconscious. Normally, we thought that it's not a big thing, but even though we are doing this kind of practices. Remedies: conduct unconscious bias training for employees and leaders, use blind hiring practices, removing names, photos, etc. from resumes, implement structured interview with standardized evaluation criteria. And that is what we can do some kind of remedy about unconscious bias. Students, cognitive bias is somewhat different, but unconscious is much complicated, whereas we are not giving more importance to that particular part. It is happening almost all cases. Then what way we can improve this kind of thing? Some suggestions as I prescribe here, that is like as unconscious bias training, which is much important, and in focus group training you can conduct that particular cases. Role playing training you can conduct that particular cases. You can identify how many times one particular manager make decisions, doing some kind of practices through unconscious bias. Implement structured interview is very important part. Number third, resistance to change is much important things which is challenging now. Employees are resisting DEI policies causing workplace tension. What is it, students? Do you clarify this particular part, that resistance to change? And we have good example in different government organizations and political administration is concerned. What way some kind of resistance to change which is causing some kind of workplace tension. We are resisting DEI. We do not believe still, I am telling you. In fact, as far as DEI practice is concerned in India, it is in infant stage, and it is started from Western countries. Slowly and gradually we are now considering this part, that we need the different group of people in organizations, that is boomer to zoomers. Now what kind of remedies? Clearly communicate the benefits of DEI, innovation, employee satisfaction, involve employees in co-creating DEI initiatives to increase buy-in, highlight success stories of DEI positive impact. So this is some of remedies basically which is needed. If any particular organizations, some people are resistant to change, they are not understanding exactly DEI practices, they are not considering to adopt the DEI practices in organizations. Now lack of accountability is one of the great practices. DEI efforts exist, but lack enforcement and tracking. What is it, students? Lack of accountability. In organizations, accountability is one of the great problems. What is it basically? Enforcement is not there. People still it is not considering, top level people still it is not considering. It is one of the vital point of organizational efficiency, organizational success. What is the remedies? Set clear DEI goals and KPI, key performance indicators, the tie leadership programs, reviews to DEI progress, establish a DEI committee, task force to monitor initiatives. So this is very important part basically, lack of accountability. We need the proper task force, as I mentioned here, DEI committee, set clear DEI goals and KPI. And as I told you, that is the next generation practices of organizational workplace, that is so called inclusive workplace. It is not so elementary part, it is very advanced part. What way you can keep the DEI intact in organizations. Now students, tokenism, what is it? Hiring, promoting diverse employees just for appearance, not merit. This is one of the challenge basically, tokenism, that is for the namesake only, and we are employing people by virtue of demographic variability. It is only the tokenism. It is not the real goal. People feel like that. When we appoint the people from diverse group, you can find good merit people also. Remember students, you can find also good merit people in particular community also, particular diverse group also. It's not like as, that we have to admit some people from women group, okay, let us appoint the women group, not like that. Now see remedies, hire, promote based on skills, not just identity, track diversity at all levels, ensure inclusive leadership development to prevent superficial diversity. Students, is very important everywhere. What I observed basically, perceived that DEI practice basically for attract the people, whereas its main purpose is not like that. Its main purpose is that diverse group can intimate themselves, can create some of new things, higher degree of innovation is possible. Now students, DEI in future workforce, this very important part. You have seen the strategies, you have seen the some kind of challenges. Now what kind of future workplace DEI is required? Diversity, equity and inclusion will be crucial in the evolving workplace to foster fair, dynamic environments. DEI covers two key dimensions, primary and secondary. Primary means visible traits like as age, gender, sexual orientation, and secondary less visible traits such as religion, education and socio-economic status. Successful organizations will move beyond monolithic and plural models towards truly multicultural structures that celebrate and value differences. Embedding DEI practices ensures fair discrimination of resources, distributive justice, transparent decision making, procedural justice, respectable, honest interpersonal interaction, interactional justice, building workplace where every individual feels seen, respected and empowered. Students, what exactly we need to clarify this particular slides? See, future workplace that would be somewhat different. We have the strong practices of fairness, three types of fairness you have seen here, like as distribution of resources, distributive justice, transparent decision making, procedural justice, respectable and honest interpersonal interaction, interactional justice. Now see, in future workplace, that would be the zero tolerance. That would be very fantastic in the sense there will be no any kind of complaint. Things should be perfectly application of DEI and it has to be aligned with the organizational objectives. If there is no alignment, DEI objectives with workforce hiring organizational objectives, we can achieve, we can design any kind of DEI practice in future for future workforces. What kind of alignment, students? That is DEI objectives. It's not the HR objectives. DEI objectives. There is the next phase of HR, ultimate level of HR, which may be the important issues through which you want to maximize the employee's talent, leveraging employee's talent basically for organizational development. This is very important. Students, remember, justice in this case much important. Now, benefits of DEI in future workforce: access to new talent and new ideas from diverse employees will lead to a high level of productivity. Number 2, multiculturalism, exchange of varieties of ideas. Students, if you go through the MNCs, American oriented MNCs and so-called recent, what can I say, that some of Indian peoples, they have been incorporated in the Trump administration, US administration. They have identified people not from American origin people, some of people from multi-ethnic society, and it's so-called multiculturalism. This is very important part for every organizations. You can see almost UK based some of organizations, you can find a lot of South Asian people, those who are originally from India, but they have settled that particular country, and they have also given equal weightage in their organizational setting. So, benefits of DEI is very important. Multiculturalism that leads more productivity, that has to be taken care in mind. If you do not understand this particular part, you may be in crisis. Like as identifying the new talents from diverse groups, and I have seen that different type of people, they are getting different types of job in different companies, that because of their talent, you do not feel that particular ethnic groups, they are not having any kind of talents, but you can find very meritorious talents basically. War of talent, you need to focus, huge number of talents are there. Once you open up your DI practices, and this is benefits of DI in the future workforce. Building teamwork and team spirit, it is one of the important part. Learning and personal growth, diverse knowledge, skills and experience, increased market share, lower cost due to fewer lawsuits. What exactly it means? Building teamwork and team spirit. Students, try to understand what exactly team spirit and teamwork. What way you can form the team? What is the role of a leader in formation of particular team? And if particular team having multi-ethnic people, different race people, then definitely and future workplace that will be more vibrant. Learning and personal growth, diverse knowledge, skill and experience is very important part. You will have different skills. Of course, you can have the different experienced people. Experience is nothing here. We will have the more discussion about employee experience and resilience module. It is the next module we will be learning exactly what does it mean. But experience, when one particular employees interact with the organizations for longer period, they have the unique experience, that experience really matters. Now see, increased market share and lower cost due to fewer lawsuits is very important part. Increased market share, lower cost due to fewer lawsuits means what? You can enhance the market share. If there is DI in particular organization, there will be the vibrant HR practices. Remember, there will be the huge, modest practices of DI. There may be the lesser chances of lawsuits, because if we work with some multi-ethnic groups, we will be learning and different group of people that ultimately lead proper communication among the groups, ultimately that does not create any kind of group conflict. Now, burdens of DEI in future workplace is very important part, students. Burdens of DEI, pressure of DEI in future workforce. What kind of cost? Training is required. Normally, training and development practice in organizations, there is homogeneous groups. There, that cases, training and development is not the big problem. But issues become more important when we think that we have the people in particular organizations from multi-countries, multi-ethnic countries, multi-ethnicity. So there is the burden exactly, cost. There is a diversity is very costly in diverse workforce. Diversity encourage hidden discrimination in a diverse workforce. I think I can't sure basically that may be happen, but some of literature they are saying that there is some hidden, unconscious, some cases basically we are not giving more importance to that particular point. Again I am telling you these are all the issues need the huge discussion. Without discussion it's not possible to understand this particular part very seriously. Diversity, equity, inclusion already I have dictated in class, it's not so easy thing to clarify basically, it's a very fantastic aspect. Unless we do some kind of experiment or research, you may not be knowing exactly what kind of discrimination when we appoint the multi-ethnic groups in your organizations. Now, third number points, workplace diversity negatively impact effective communications. As I told in particular slides and screen, HR leadership is equally important. We need the diversity training and other things that may lead otherwise some kind of miscommunication. Because people are not from one particular groups, accommodating diverse workforce in burdensome on employees. I think this is also one of the great context that may be the burden of as far as hiring is concerned. Social integration is difficult as the diverse groups feel understanding. Social integration is very important, difficult. That I can understand, it's not so easy thing because integration theory, social integration theory as I discussed that what kind of cohesiveness among the different groups, it's equally important. Now implementation of DEI practice in future workplace. What is the structure, what is the phase we need to follow? It is one of the exposure phase, what to do that particular cases, begin by informing members about the current state of DEI culture, highlighting its strength and weakness, when you want to implement DEI practice in your organizations. Then second one, experience, enhance workforce engagement by exposing them to real-time DEI experience through direct involving and observation. Experience is very important part. Initially exposure, then experience, then knowledge dissemination, educate members about DEI to increase familiarity with diverse cultures and individual characteristics. Then we can develop the understanding, develop sensitivity and comprehension of culture dynamics within the organization. There are multiple stages, exposures, experience, knowledge dissemination, understanding, then appreciation, approx there is the 8 different stages. Appreciation, foster acceptance and accommodation of diverse values and cultures among organizational members, and respect, encourage respect for diversity by recognizing and valuing the worth and cultural uniqueness of others. Then modification, provide ongoing training and sensitization to modify attitude, thoughts and behaviors toward greater DEI acceptance. Then finally, that is the healthy interaction. Successful implementation of these steps lead to positive and enduring interactions among diverse individuals, fostering an inclusive work environment. It is basically the part of the implementation. What is it exactly? That means you want to implement the diverse practices, the DEI in future workforce. What are the steps? What are the series of actions you have to do? Different cases you have seen. One of the point I can narrate, like is the appreciation, which is much important in the sense we need to appreciate the people those who are adopting, it is not only the hiring practices, those who are voluntarily adopting DEI practices and their application is concerned. Modification is a beautiful part of implementation of DEI practice is concerned. Whatever practice you have adopted, this practice has to be modified at different point of time. Then only you can interact with the different group of people. Now, some of questions, students, that will help you to understand DEI practice in your organizations. What is the process of implementing DEI practice in the future workforce? What is unconscious bias? How can it affect hiring decisions? How can companies encourage employees to support DEI initiatives? What is the tokenism? And why should it be avoided in DEI practices? These are all questions are very relevant, students. One of the important part, I just recall you, what is the unconscious bias and how can it affect hiring decisions? Now see, DEI is not studying the implementation pages. That is something like that you have identified some policies likely to adopt it. See, it is started from manpower planning, I have told several times. Then it is the job design. You need to categorize the people, what kind of people you need, from which groups. Then you just design your job, that is so called job design. Then once you job design, then you can start the hiring practices. Then if you are hiring practices, you just follow the norms, whatever decided by organizations as far as your manpower planning is concerned. So these are all practice you have to follow. Otherwise, unconscious bias, some of things we have some kind of prejudice, it is very traditional, it is happening, passing generation to generation. We are simply following the things, some mistakes we are doing, that is so called unconscious bias. That has to be identified. Proper research is required, what level of unconscious. When we try to appoint some kind of builders, that cases we may have some kind of unconscious bias, that is the ageism. What is ageism? Basically we have some ideas, unconscious bias about the old age people in the organizations. That is why we are not recruiting some of people. So these are all some of important part what I mean to express you people. These questions are very pertinent. Now one more important things, you need to see some of books as I asked some Kirado G 2022 Diversity, Equity, Inclusion in the Workplace Strategies for Achieving and Sustaining a Diverse Workforce, and Rami Al Tariq MU Ka and JM 2022 Diversity, Equity and Inclusion in the Workplace Ethics, Theoretical Review, Mainstreaming Diversity, Equity and Inclusion as Workplace, as Future Workplace Ethics. So these are all some of questions I raised you people basically. When we see the slide, entire slide very seriously, that will help you basically for understanding the what way we can design DEI for future workforce. So thank you very much for understanding, ending this module, last part of diversity, equity, inclusion module, that is DEI in future workforce. Thank you very much.